Hello, everyone, and welcome to PSY325, Neuropsychology and Clinical Neuroscience. My name is Juan Canales. For those of you who don't know me, many of you do. I am a professor of psychology within the School of Psychological Sciences, and I am the unit coordinator for PSY325. It is an honor and a pleasure to coordinate this brand new unit that we are developing this year for the first time, and it's an exciting unit that builds on the knowledge and skills that you've already acquired in years 1 and 2 in this in the neuroscience field. But this obviously has a different flavor. This is a more advanced unit with translational value and with clinical applications that I'm hoping that you'll find very engaging and interesting. So the purpose of this micro lecture is to basically take you through the essential information that you need to be very successful in this unit, which is what we want you to be, of course. And basically just take you through the unit outline and the important data that you need to have to move forward with the unit. So just to give you a brief overview, this is taken from the unit outline. This unit, as I mentioned, builds on knowledge and skills in the neuroscience field, broadly speaking, that you've acquired in years 1 and 2, particularly in units such as brain and behavior, and also PSY325 behavioral and cognitive neuroscience. So you basically now have the essential tools, an understanding of the organization of the brain and the nervous system, and an understanding of neurotransmitter systems, receptor systems, and an understanding of some of the essential neurobiological substrates that mediate key psychological functions such as learning and memory, and so on and so forth. So this new unit 325, builds on knowledge that you already have. But obviously it's much more specific, because here the purpose is to try and understand the neuroscience of neuropsychological and neuropsychiatric disorders. So lectures in the field of neuropsychology will deal with the major neuropsychological disorders and syndromes, including neurodegenerative and developmental disorders, neurodevelopmental disorders in childhood, and also the consequences of traumatic brain injury, cerebrovascular disease, and so on. And also an introduction to some of the tools, the assessment tools and diagnoses that neuropsychologists in the field use to assess and diagnose patients with issues, problems of this nature. Lectures in the field of clinical neuroscience will mainly deal with neuropsychiatric disorders that you are very familiar with, such as mood disorders, depression, anxiety, trauma and stress-related disorders such as PTSD, and psychotic disorders such as schizophrenia. There are compulsory practical sessions. They will be run mostly online, so they will be self-directed. But as I will mention, towards the second half of the semester, we will try to run some face-to-face practicals, obviously with the COVID-19 protocols in place. And when I say compulsory, what I mean is that the information and the skills that you'll acquire in these practical sessions is something that you will be assessed on. Obviously, you will have questions in the quizzes, questions in the exam, so it is therefore in your best interest to familiarize yourself with the content of those practicals. So the intended learning outcomes for this unit are essentially three. So at the end or on completion of this unit, you will be able to evaluate the relationship between neuropsychological and neuropsychiatric disorders and underlying brain dysfunction. So putting together the relationship between alterations in the functioning of the brain and the consequences for behavior and mental function. Secondly, you'll be able to apply a functional understanding of neuroanatomy, neurochemistry, neuropharmacology to the clinical and experimental approaches relevant to neuropsychological and neuropsychiatric disorders. So you'll have a functional understanding of how alterations in the brain may lead to certain psychopathological conditions. And finally, you'll be able to critically evaluate neuropsychological and neuropsychiatric literature and communicate key concepts in this field to a range of audiences. Mainly, it'll be in written form because there will be we will have a critical essay. This will be assignment 2, and you will have in this essay an opportunity to critically evaluate literature and communicate it in a manner that is meaningful and effective. So these are the intended learning outcomes for the unit. Lectures are scheduled on Mondays between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m., but they will be delivered via Milo with rich content, which will be presented to you in web format, and micro lectures such as these will accompany these materials. So it'll be a combination of information presented to you via web pages on Milo and these micro lectures on specific subtopics. As I mentioned, the practicals will be mostly self-directed, so there is no need to allocate a slot for you. And the materials will also be posted on Monday, like the lecture materials. They will be delivered via Milo, and they will consist of a combination of videos, interactive material, and activities for you to engage with. As I mentioned, we are likely to offer face-to-face practical sessions in the second half of the semester, and I will provide you with the relevant information near the time. You are all familiar with the structure of Milo, but just as a reminder, this is a screenshot of our unit, PSY325, and as you can see on the left-hand side, you have the table of contents with your unit introduction, and as you can see, the unit introduction is a web page. I invite you to click on that. Basically, it contains a little bit of information, the unit outline, some basic information, the intended learning outcomes, which are already presented, also presented here. But it also has some information about the lecturing staff that will contribute to this unit, including myself, including Dr. Cynthia Honan, who is a senior lecturer and a clinical neuropsychologist. She's based in Launceston. We also have Associate Professor Luke Johnson, who is a behavioral neuroscientist. Many of you will know Luke as well. And he's really interested in anxiety and post-traumatic stress disorders. He will contribute some really key lectures towards the second half of the semester. And we're also lucky to have Alison Matthews, Dr. Alison Matthews, who is a cognitive neuroscientist. She's interested in a range of things, including attention and disorders of the brain as well. So she will be contributing some lectures and practical sessions as well. So this is the layout of the unit. You'll have all the information in here under the table of contents, unit introduction, and then the weekly content. If you click on that, then you'll have a pull-down menu with week 1, week 2, week 3, and so on and so forth. Communication, very important for us to establish good communication, particularly in the world we live in at the moment. With COVID-19 and so on and so forth. It's very important that we are all on the same page on a number of topics, on every topic if possible. So it is important that we communicate effectively. So for that purpose, please do use the discussion boards on Milo. So if you go to communication, click on discussion, and then you'll access the student forum. And I have created, well, there is a general comments folder, as it were, under discussions, but I have created a specific discussion board for every week of the semester. And the reason for this is that, it will be easier. It will be easier for me or whoever is helping me with, monitoring the discussion board to keep track of communications, and in this fashion we can make the inquiries or the questions that you may have specific for the week in which this query takes place. So I would encourage you to use the discussion board by all means. If there is a general comment about the unit, by all means go to the general comments folder. But if it is something specific for the week, then please use the weekly folder. Okay. We will also run collaborate sessions. Web conferencing sessions to support your learning. This is something that I started doing last year. Some of you may know in PSY325. Attendance was what it was. We never had a large number of students, but I think it was a useful resource for you to have the opportunity to interact with me directly. Ask questions about the topic of the week, or any questions about assignments and things like that, and just generally to have a not a face-to-face, but at least some kind of more interactive and useful communication with me or the lecturing staff. So this will be run fortnightly, so every other week, and we will start in week 2. And I'm going to, last year we had these sessions on Friday, but I think it's probably best to give an alternative option a different day, because some people may work on Friday and they may be occupied all day. So I was just thinking of doing Thursdays at 10 a.m. and Fridays at 10 a.m. for 45 minutes. So essentially you just go to the web conferencing option through the Milo site and enter the room that I will set up for you to communicate with me. So I'm happy to listen to feedback in terms of when these sessions could run. Maybe it is preferable to have, for example, Friday at 10 a.m. and Thursday in the afternoon, not 10 a.m. So I don't know. I would like to be able to cater for as many people or as many students as possible. So initially, I will set up these sessions to run on Thursdays at 10 a.m. and Fridays at 10 a.m. for 45 minutes. And preferably, if numbers were not as great as I expected last year, but preferably if you can attend the Thursday drop-in session, if your surname starts with A up to K, and if your surname starts with L up to Z, then please do attend the Friday if possible. If this is not possible, you can always use the alternative slot. It's not going to be a big deal, but just for the purpose of some organization, let's try and do it this way. Assessment, a very important part, of course, and I'm sure you will want to know how you will be assessed in this unit, so that you can be as successful as possible. So we will be running quizzes, online quizzes, set up on Milo on weeks 4, 8, and 12, and the return for those quizzes will be 1 week after. So they will be set up on a Wednesday, and the return of that will be the next Wednesday on weeks 5, 9, and 13. And these quizzes will be worth altogether, 3 quizzes altogether. They will be worth 20% of your grade, so about 6-7% each. There is also a critical essay. The due date for the essay will be the 7th of May, and it's worth 30% of your grade, and a final exam which will be worth 50% of the overall grade. So as I mentioned, the quizzes will be available on Milo, about 20 questions each on weeks 4, 8, and 13. Sorry, 4, 8, and 12. The combined weight of the 3 quizzes is 20%. They will be available on Wednesday at 4 p.m. on these weeks, 4, 8, and 12. And you will have 1 week to complete the quiz and return it. So they will have to come back on the following Wednesday in weeks 5, 9, and 13. The critical essay will be a topic relevant to the field of neuropsychology and clinical neuroscience. Basically, you will be asked to comment on the key neurobiology or neuroscience of a specific neuropsychological or neuropsychiatric disorder, and you will have to critically evaluate the latest research on that particular topic with relevance to, or with reference to the underlying neurobiology and current or advanced treatment approaches for that particular disorder. And this critical essay will be worth 30%. Given that the return for this essay is the 7th of May, I will aim to provide a title for your essay early in March, so you'll have approximately 2 months to prepare the essay, which is a very reasonable amount of time. And as I mentioned, there will be a final exam consisting of MCQ questions, not just testing your knowledge, but also your application of knowledge. It's very important that these questions are designed in a way such that you not just recognize information, but also apply your knowledge to specific situations. The recommended reading, we've got a couple of textbooks, and I say recommended, not required. So recommended means that I encourage you to expand on the content that we will provide via Milo in the lecture materials and the pracs. It is always useful to expand this knowledge and learn more, to have a greater understanding, a bigger picture of the topics that we will cover. But in terms of the essential materials that you need to work with in order to be successful in the quizzes and the exams and so on and so forth, you just need to cover the lecture materials and the pracs. So there won't be any tricky questions taken from one of these books to make things difficult for you. That's not the intention. It will not happen. You will just need to cover your lecture materials, your practicals, and you should be fine. But obviously, it is very important that you expand on your understanding of the relevant topics that we will cover in this unit. And just to take you through briefly the unit outline, I'm just very pleased to see the range of topics, of interesting topics that we will cover in this unit. Today or this week is an introduction to neuropsychology and clinical neuroscience, just to give you a little bit of a flavor for the history of the discipline, particularly from the 19th century, the localization work that started with Gall and continued with Broca and a number of other scientists, and then some interesting, important information as to what clinical neuropsychologists do in the field, what skills they have, and what their role in society is. So that's covered in week 1. In week 2, Cynthia will speak about neuropsychological assessment and diagnosis. She's an expert in this field. Alison will contribute the materials for week 3, cerebrovascular disorders, tumors, and TBI, traumatic brain injury. I will cover addiction neuroscience and addiction therapeutics in week 4. Again, Cynthia will come back to introduce you to the topic of multiple sclerosis, in which she does very important research within the school. And she will also cover dementias and in particular Alzheimer's disease. Then we'll have the mid-semester break early in April, and then I'll talk about, it'll be my turn in week 7 to talk about Parkinson's disease and other motor disorders. And then Luke will cover the following 3 weeks, mood disorders, including depression, neuroscience of anxiety disorders, and then trauma and stressor-related disorders, including post-traumatic stress disorder, in which Luke does considerable research work. I will cover the neuroscience of psychotic disorders in week 11, and Alison will be the last lecturer to deliver lectures, and she will cover developmental disorders in childhood, including autism and disorders of that nature. And then finally, the unit summary and conclusions. So this is really everything I wanted to introduce you to. Like I said, it's a real pleasure for me to be engaged with this unit, to coordinate this unit, and I will work very hard, like the rest of my colleagues, to provide you with the best possible learning experience. We are at your disposal, and we wish you well. We hope that you are very, very successful in this unit. So this is all from me. Thank you very much, and talk to you soon. Goodbye now.